Hello, everybody. This is Alexandra from UNCHAIN Fintech Festival. We are here today on another session of UNCHAIN CEE Fintech Tour with focus specifically on Hungary, a very vibrant and interesting ecosystem that we're going to hear more about from our guests here today. First of all, let me invite Baiba from MBH Fintech Lab and also from the Hungarian Fintech Association. And
Hello.
hello. And I will let her. We're very happy actually to have you as a partner of the event and as an active member of being involved with the all our tour and with whatever we're doing with UNCHAIN. I was kind of wondering if you have some insights to share with us about the Hungarian fintech ecosystem, and then maybe let you go on with the panel that we have prepared today.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be the moderator of this particular event, and we really love and enjoy collaborating with you. And I always say that Hungarian ecosystem is kind of a unique thing because we are the best and the worst at some things. And according to National Bank, we have 212 fintechs here, and approximately 65 are considered startups. And 85% of all our fintechs are actually profitable, and that is due to because they mainly work in B2B. And I would say that the collaboration with the banks is very open because also when you look at the statistics, at this moment, absolutely every bank in this country has at least one external partnership with fintechs.
That's a very nice statistic to hear. That means that the discussion today is going to be very lively. We have two banks present with us, MBH Bank and CIB Bank, and also with Ergomania. Let's see exactly what the discussion is and how the evolving consumer landscape looks like.
Thank you very much. So hello, everyone. And today we will be actually diving into how the next generation is reshaping the banking, because as the research shows, the Gen Zs actually would rather go to a dentist instead of going to a bank branch. So we're going to explore this topic today with some bankers, fintechs, and UX experts, how we can actually tackle this issue. And as mentioned before, my name is Baiba Rozenberga. I'm the head of startups at MBH Fintech Lab. I'm also the director of external partnerships at the Hungarian Fintech Association. And I will be joined by three great guests today who are industry professionals. Fetter Istvan from CEE Bank, Németh Dániel from MBH Bank, and Dragus Adam from Ergomania. And before we dive into all this, so let's do a quick round of introductions. So Istvan, if you could maybe start. Your sound is off.
Yes. Actually, my sound was on, but I had some connection difficulties. Hopefully, it will be better. So first of all, thank you very much for the kind introduction. It's always a pleasure to be here. Last year, I was in person in Oradea. It was an amazing event to be in the panel, to have discussions, to be there also speaking with all the industry leaders and with all the great fintechs and banks. And it's really a great initiative to have this event online as well. And we are looking forward to be in Oradea in the festival again. And just briefly about myself, I'm Istvan Fetter, head of small business division here at CIB Bank. This is the Hungarian subsidiary bank of the Italian Intesa Sanpaolo. Here in Hungary at the small business division, we have 55,000 clients. We generate 35 billion Hungarian forints. The clients have 130 billion Hungarian forints loan, leasing and guarantees, and around 420 billion Hungarian forints investment savings and so on. And we are really looking forward to digitalize the entrepreneurial landscape as we have already done for the individuals. Thank you.
Dániel?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me, and thank you for the invitation. I'm Dániel. I am responsible for generative AI implementation at MBH Bank. So mostly I'm focusing to handle and manage all the layers of this technology, and I'm trying to focus, educate all the employees, and implement all the solutions which are related to fintech solutions as well.
Okay, thank you. Adam?
Hey, thanks for the invitation. First of all, yes, I'm Adam, and I'm working with Ergomania, which is a product strategy firm, mainly focusing on fintech products and banking products and UX design, obviously. And I am the lead of two things in the company. One is user interface design, and the most recent one is AI innovation, which is kind of like a mystic title. What it means that I'm looking for ways to implement AI technologies in a great way in UX, making it everything more, smoother and easier to use.
Great, wonderful. So if we jump straight in and we talk about the Hungarian landscape, what would you say, how has the Hungarian banking adapted for these digital native consumers? I assume we mean Gen Z probably with that and the youngest generation. Istvan, maybe you can start.
Yeah.
Thank you. So what we have seen is that practically nowadays it's almost everything possible to do online for individuals. So they can open a bank account absolutely online with very different ways of authentication. And then they can also have a personal loan within 30 minutes, even when they are not the clients of the underlying bank. So first they open the bank account and then they have the personal loan. They can also have the end-to-end digitalized mortgage loan, only that at the very end they need to show up to have the notarial deeds. So that is still something where they have to be in person. Maybe that's a differentiating factor amongst neobanks, fintechs, and classic banks. Mainly neobanks or fintechs cannot provide this personal loan and mortgage. Most probably in the future they can. In case of wealth management, there's really a wide range of different investment funds, savings account that classic banks can offer. Most probably a differentiator that neobanks, some of them can also provide crypto, and it's also easier to open up a wealth management account for them. In case of insurance, now it's also available absolutely online. In case of payment and transaction, really a huge availability with card, without card, tokenized, non-tokenized, in-wallet, outside. So it's really a huge, extreme amount of different solutions. In case of treasury, the huge differentiator is the margin, the spread, so the pricing, and also how much the client can actually see, how much transparent is it. In case of beyond banking, really only imagination can be the barrier. So nowadays, tickets, programs, travel, all type of different things which are absolutely non-core banking activities can also be done through the applications and banking. So practically all the banks are really thriving for and competing for the time of the consumer to be on the platform and to give the best journey, the best onboarding, the best experience as good as possible.
May I actually ask, do you have any crypto-related services? Because I checked the statistics and 50% of all Gen Z in Hungary actually have some crypto holdings already. And we know that all the fintechs or the modern financial service providers, they already offer this option. Do you as a bank look into it? Do you have it? Is it on the table?
Doesn't offer this possibility as of today. Horizon, which is the asset management company of Intesa Sanpaolo, is planning to have investment funds which are Bitcoin related. Not only Bitcoin, maybe it's going to be blended with some other funds. And Intesa Sanpaolo has already bought Bitcoin in the volume of 10 million euros. So most probably in the future, it's going to be on the menu as well.
I assume if the first bank introduces it, the rest are going to follow in a matter of a very short period of time.
I absolutely agree, yes.
And Adam, from the products you develop, do you see that there is something specific for Gen Z?
Yes, I think for Gen Z, the most important thing is that whatever you do, whatever they want to do it fast, almost instantly. So The best example is probably onboarding. That could be an easy deal breaker. Like if the onboarding progress is problematic, they will be out. Like they will just going to look for another service easily. I think that's like one of the most important, if not the most important aspect for Gen Z, because these young kiddos, so to say, they were raised and born into a world where everything is almost available in the digital world instantly. Just think about streaming. They are accustomed to it. So if you fail to deliver products that do the same, then they will find it really problematic. In short, I would say.
And I also saw that from what MNB says, is that 72% of Gen Z actually prefer these innovative financial services instead of a classical bank. So if we assume that these fintechs later can actually provide the classical bank services and mortgages and everything, so they might be actually a lost customer for the banks.
Just to add on that, yeah, well, neobanks, they are setting the UX standards for these financial services. And of course, they are capitalizing on the advantage that they are much more nimble and faster. So they can run ahead and try out new features and innovate much easier than, so to say, a classic bank with all its regulations and rules and everything, multi-layered company, huge company. It's slower a bit. So yeah, of course, they're going to capitalize on that. And
Absolutely.
That's what the Gen Z is looking for, actually.
So Dániel, you work with the AI and the generative AI. So if you know now that, the fintechs are setting the standard, how do you think banks can catch up, and if they can catch up at all?
That's a pretty complex question because, the technology is not there, what the customer are expecting. For example, we cannot answer and suggest solutions and services based on AI answers because of the privacy and security questions. On the other hand, this technology is non-deterministic, so we cannot answer the question with 100% truly or right. So it's a pretty big challenge for us to serve our customers with AI technology nowadays, but we are working on some pilot projects to solve the question.
Okay, so you can see that these fintechs influence the consumer preferences in Hungary, and we all know that Revolut is a big thing here, and they are growing basically day by day, and they have 18,000 new customers weekly and 25 million transactions per month. It's a bit alarming.
Yes,
for a regular bank. Great. So what do you think about the challenges, obstacles banks face serving these new guys? Istvan, any thoughts?
So these so-called dinosaur banks are facing the decision whether to either change themselves or to come up with a completely new fintech or a completely new neobank. In case of Intesa Sanpaolo, the mother company made a decision to come up with EasyBank. That is an absolutely new fintech type of legal entity, and they have already started to migrate certain clients in Italy, and they bring these new wave UX-friendly state-of-the-art features, and they don't have these kind of issues like dinosaur banks have, these legacy systems and multiple layers and several different softwares and applications. So that's a very good idea, and that might be a solution also for the subsidiary banks in the future. So that's one type of strategy. Another type of strategy is to team up with several other different fintech companies that most of the banks have already started to do. And of course, a third type of strategy is just to renew yourself and then to reshape yourself. That's quite hard. In most cases, the banks follow either one of them or all of them or two of them. And in our case, what we see is that as a universal bank, we cannot narrow down our offerings and our landscape for only one generation. And the older generations still do require the branch presence, the physical presence, the in-person advisory, and so on. So we still need to have the physical approach, the omni-channel and multi-channel approach. And in case of legal entities, we haven't reached yet the level of development that we have reached in case of individuals, not only because of the lack of technology or the lack of the drive from our point of view, but also from a regulation point of view and the complexity point of view. But this is definitely the future, and most probably in the future that we can discuss whether it's 10 years, 30 years, less or more, but most probably there won't be a physical channel, or at least not in a way as we see it now.
Do you guys agree that the role of the bank is going to change and the physical channel is not going to be there anymore?
More or less. We'll see.
Just for fun, when is the last time when you guys went to a bank branch?
2 days ago.
Oh, wow.
Actually, I had something to sort out with my loan. So just to reflect on that, if I can, about classic banks and no banks, I think, as I see it, millennials, how they treat banks is that, like, after I was born, a few years later, my father decided I need an account. So we went into the bank where he had his account and he opened an account for me. That is how I had my first account. And I had no reason to change that until I was trying to grab a loan and to buy a house. And there was another bank who was able to provide me the loan that I was looking for. So I opened another account and I kept my previous account. And that's what usually affects a millennial's life when it comes to deciding which bank should I use, on average. Of course, there are exceptions. And then comes Revolut, which is a neobank who was able to, like we said, innovate and do stuff that bigger banks, I think they would love to do, but they were just not able to do it as fast. And we started to use neobanks, Revolut, Nubank, Wise, etc., etc. And I'm talking about millennials. And then comes Gen Z. Now, Gen Z is a bit different, I think, because they will probably have a classical account the same way as we did. Their fathers will open an account, but they were born into the mobile first world. So probably they do not have that big amount of money to handle, but the small amount that they have, they're much more happier to, handle it in Revolut because it's easier, faster, and they can do whatever they want. But on the other hand, banks like MBH or Citibank, they have a big advantage because they are present in the physical world. And when it comes to, bigger amounts of money, I do want to have a branch where I just can walk in and ask people. I cannot do that with Revolut. I mean, I can, but it's hugely problematic, and I'm not sure if it's going to help me.
So it's a trust matter.
Sorry?
So it's a matter of trust and reliability.
After a certain point of amount of money, yes. Yes. And Gen Z is not there yet. So I think that's an interesting question. Like, as we move on and they start to gather serious amounts of money and they become more senior people, how will they treat their money? If Revolut is able to come up with physical branches, that could be a real issue. So they will need to change in time as well. They will need to innovate as well. So it's an interesting thing, I think. It's an interesting story that could develop in the near future.
Do you think the branch is more important than the capability to serve, for example, the mortgages or car leasing loans? Because I think the moment that is sorted online, and it's possible, for example, I'm Latvian myself, and the Luminor Bank handles 98% of all mortgages online, so without ever meeting in person. Obviously, the reason why we can do that, because we have these electronic ID systems in place for, I don't know, decades. The Estonians even longer. The first concept was developed in 96. So There are systems in place where we never talked or meet each other in person. And I'm not sure if the branch is going to be valid at that moment. And what they have told me, the new problem they have is to create this emotional connection, because if you do not meet in person, you do not have an emotional connection. If you don't have that, then people are leaving, where the best percentage comes from. So their issue has become already on a different level, how to actually bond with the client.
Well, I can reflect on that, or I can pass the word for Dániel, because I think he has something to say about it.
Yeah, I don't like to simplify a question like that. Is it needed to have so many branches for the customers or not? I always trying to figure out what is the drive behind a topic. For example, if we are separate into different topics, like if you have a big amount of money and you have to put it into the bank, or you need a personal connection, it's a complicated topic. For example, there is the AI technology where you can have a personal assistant or a copilot to navigate you on a video call, and with humanoid face, with human language and voice. In this case, you can talk with your own private bank assistant day by day and for all day long. But on the other hand, of course, there are some functions which are not allowed to cancel to serve your customers. So it's a little bit complex question, but I believe that there are so many functionalities that we can switch to the digital world. I believe it. Yeah.
Okay. We already touched the topic of trust, how important trust is. Do you think this Gen Z also has some issue with authority? Because this is one thing that I heard at the conference, that trust is one thing, but they do not like authority. So basically what these neo-banks and new services provide them is with way more freedom and independence. Because I assume in Hungary, you still have to go to a bank to close a bank account. So you can open one online, but to close one, you still have to actually go into the branch. And any ideas how that could develop in the future? Or why do these banks still hold on to these things? I mean, I don't know the answer, but what is your point of view?
Yes, just quickly reflecting to what's being told. Just fun fact that I've recently read that the average bank relationship here in Hungary generally lasts longer than the average marriage. So, and it doesn't mean that we have to bring down or bring up the length of the average marriage, but it might mean that in the future relationship may go down, and also the of change a banking relationship may go up, so it might uneven. Of course, we who work in banks or in companies related to banking, we may find it easier to switch a bank than maybe those who still haven't figured it out. And of course, what is the moment when a client potentially would like to change a bank? Just exactly as it has been told, when it's a so-called moment of truth. So when something goes wrong, for example, when I'm applying for a loan and my loan is rejected, or when the relationship manager disappears, or when they shut down a branch. But these are only important, statistically speaking, and there are always outliers for older generations. And coming back to the original question, so it may happen that also from a business policy point of it's important to meet with the client without actually terminating the relationship, because there's always a point of turning back. Although statistically speaking, when the client has already figured it out to close it, then the chances are extremely low to change his or her mind. So it's better to pay attention to the inactivity prevention and to look for the warning signs of losing certain number of products, decreasing turnover, decreasing volume, decreasing net operating margin earned, lower usage of card, and so on. Because to avoid the final decision is very, very hard. But most probably, I believe that it's going to be available for clients to close it remotely. So most probably it's going to be available for them in all cases. And of course, the question is also how lucrative is it for fintechs, neobanks, to use or to have a universal approach and to provide all the services. They generally tend to enjoy the flow, to earn on the turnover, to earn on treasury, and they may not be that much prone to take the risk, to have the financing cost, the risk cost, and so on. But as you mentioned previously, when they will have the full capability, that will be a huge game changer. In the short and medium run, if they had branches, that would be another game changer, because then they would be able to serve those older generations as well. In the very long term, they may not need them. But as the famous economist told, we are all dead in the long term. So maybe it's good to concentrate on the short and mid term as well.
Mm-hmm. We mentioned AI a few times, and now the National Bank has came up with a regulation for the AI Act. What do you think the regulation in Hungary and in Europe in default, does it encourage or limit the digital banking development in the banks? Dániel, you're the closest to the AI. What's your opinion?
Yeah, again, a question. It's not too easy to answer completely. First of all, I'm that guy who believes in this kind of regulations, because in this case you have to understand yourself and your operation model. Nowadays, I see that there are some roles who has to understand the technology. For example, governance or IT security or the business part. They have to understand how does the technology works. So I believe that these kind of regulations are perfectly good to create the common language for these parties. I believe that. On the other hand, of course, if there are other opponents who don't have any regulations, they can be much faster and much complex operations. So I believe that we have to handle this kind of AI Act regulation, and we have to fulfill all of these, because nowadays our customers are much more mature on this level as well. For example, I'm Dániel, and I have a privacy policy to accept on an application. I can download it and put it into an AI solution and ask what are the most dangerous or risk part. And in this case, I will understand all the privacy policy topic in 1 minute. So I believe that we have to have all the answers for these questions, which will be came up after the GDPR, now with the AI Act as well.
Don't you think that it's going to slow down, and the same with the BNPL regulation, which is expected to come in soon?
I don't know, because there are so many levels of, for example, the AI technology. If you want to build a new LLM model, in this case, you have to handle and answer all of these questions. If you will be that company who is just building a new solution with implementing all these LLM technologies, in this case, you don't have to focus about the LLM topic where you are creating the module. So it's a pretty complex. If you are that company who is just building application, in this case, there are not that level of regulation, but for example, an OpenAI has. So that's a pretty complex question again.
Okay. Do you guys have a thought on this?
On the UX side, from an agency side, I know AI is treated like a hot potato, and that's good. Regulations should be there in place. It's a brand new technology, and it could be a dangerous technology as well, and we need to be mindful of that. But as a UX agency, I usually go wide with it and design stuff that probably will run into regulations as soon as I present them. But it's still fun to experiment with it because I think AI solutions will be on a widespread in any ways in a 2, 3, maybe 5 years. What I usually say is that there was electricity, then there was internet, and then now there is AI. It's going to be everywhere. So it's not going to be the hero of the applications or programs or tools, whatever we're going to use, but it's going to be an integral part of the whole solution, whatever we talk about. How it will take shape, I'm not sure. How it will be regulated, I'm not sure, but it's here and it's here to stay. And if somebody falls behind on using it the proper way, they will fall behind in the race as well.
Okay. The reason why I'm asking is I have never read the act, but I have heard that this new document which MNB is putting on the banks, that it's almost impossible for the banks to comply with it in the term they have set, in the quality they have set, that it basically limits them also for all the external partnerships they would like to have who use AI as well. But on the other hand, we joke that MNB, the national bank, is actually the biggest innovation booster in the banking system, because when they come up with a new regulation, then we are all forced to develop these new things to comply. But on the other hand, maybe I heard a sentence from a Romanian webinar, and one of the guys said that first innovate and then regulate. So maybe it would be better vice versa, that at least then you would know what you are regulating. And in this case, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
It's
okay. So
it's very difficult. We may say, I'm not sure whether it's true or not, that Europe is most probably more strong in ESG than in AI, and most probably China, the United States is stronger in AI than in ESG. Maybe it's not something that is correct. Maybe it's oversimplification. Maybe it's untrue. And even if it was true, it's not something that is either pro or con, or good or bad. So if someone is looking for development, then sometimes it's better to have the growth concerns and the growth to be sacrificed on the altar of sustainability, let it be environment, social impact, governance, and so on. But it may not lead to being very competitive. In Hungary, what we can say is that in case of authentication, authorization, in case of online account opening, in case of beyond banking, in some solutions we do have an easier or a better regulation from a UX or from a customer point of view than some other countries. For example, our mother company, Into the Sampo, when it compares the 12 countries, 11 subsidiaries, then finds it the end-to-end online account opening for legal entities as well in each and every country all over Europe, just to give one example. For example, another factor is ESG. There are some banks and countries, and in general, I think the European Union, which takes it very seriously, while there may be some other countries which may not outside of the European Union, and that can give a short or mid-term competitive edge for those countries which do not allocate important financial resources for this area. On the other hand, some argue that even in the short and medium term, investing into ESG can be good because of reputation marketing, HR, branding, so because these newer generations might be prone to buying more ESG related products.
Okay, thank you. And talking about innovation, do you have anything in mind what has significantly improved the customer engagement, especially when it comes to young people? Because statistically also, like 1/3 of all banks have special products for kids starting from 6 years up. Do you have anything like that in mind? Istvan, you're shaking your hand.
Yes, based on my understanding, the Hungarian bank holding MHB has an excellent solution for that, or will have an excellent solution for that with the cooperation of PEAK, Hungarian Fintech. But there are some other players and banks with other fintechs working together to bring on board the gamification solution to tie these pocket money and rewards for something that you can do in the app. Also, with the airdrops and with some lucrative awards, you can reward the children. But also some very basic functions like opening a bank account from the very early ages, to have a bank card either in physical or virtual presence. Also, to have some kind of wealth management related products, which are of course first paid or invested by the parents, but later on beneficiaries are going to be the children. So it might be important both for the parents and children, both for banks to onboard the younger generation, maybe even from the newborn stage.
To be honest, I saw an advertisement which was targeting a pregnant mother, and I thought it doesn't go earlier than that, right? So I don't remember which bank it was, but that's probably the earliest stage when you can start. And as you said, that the relationships actually last longer than a marriage, then you should be actually fighting for these children, because at some moment they're going to become a paying customer. And Adam, you do work with this product development. Do you have any innovation in mind that creates extra engagement?
Oh, there are many innovations, but I mainly focus on a concept that usually banking clients, like clients who we design for, they want to solve issues. So as soon as they are dealing with money, or they're gonna be connected with financial issues, we need to provide them solutions that taking as less time as possible for them to use. And that applies 100 more strongly or more times for the younger generation as it applies for us. That's what I hold in the focus. About newborns and kids in that age, I don't know, we'll see. Actually, I have my newborn son on the camera right here, and I'm hoping he's not waking up until the end of our call. So I will soon experience these questions. Yeah.
Wonderful. And when they grow up, they are all at this moment into TikTok, and the TikTok actually draws them into the consumer feedback. How do you think this TikTok influence is changing also banking, or not that much?
Well, the way they digest information is definitely changing. Like if I see my brother's son, who's like 15, 16 years old, the way he communicates with his friends on his phone is totally different than how I communicate with my friends on my phone. They are sending each other videos as messages, like literally communicating with short videos, using TikTok nonstop. they're probably super addicted to these applications. So and multitasking is like an integral part of them. So definitely it is changing. How? That needs deep research, and that's why we are here as a UX company. That's what we research constantly.
Because I think at some moment these banking services were actually going to be available and accessible straight through these social media platforms, because you have to be where the client is. And when we were growing up, we went to the shopping mall, so that's where the banks opened their branches. And now these kids, they are in the phone, in these social apps. How do you think that is where we going?
Well, think about Apple Pay, just for a quick example. Like, it's almost everywhere. And if there's an Apple Pay feature, I will choose that feature because it's super simple. And that's what every financial institution should aim for, something like that, I think.
Actually, all Hungarian banks do have a TikTok channel. The content they are posting could be more interesting, but the fact itself that they are thinking about it. Okay,
yes, it's also
please.
Yes, it's also a tricky question. I absolutely agree with you that banks should be on all social platforms, and including but not limited to TikTok. But then, of course, there are still some of those more conservative banks which still wants to keep the image of this kind of old-fashioned wealth management-related, several hundred years old banks. But yes, the future, or maybe the present, is definitely that banks have to be there. And also when we had these kind of campaigns for youngsters, then of course we were also using, like other banks, influencers. And yes, we also had to understand exactly who 16 years old youngsters are listening to, and of course they don't watch TV, they don't listen to those type of radio channels. Yes, we also hired gamers and other influencers that are very different, and the way how they convey them are different. But yes, we have to adapt to the target group and to give the right messages. Of course, a level of iteration is different. Maybe there's only 3, 4, 5 seconds when we can really have their attention. But it's not that they are better or worse. Their brain and behavior is just different, and we have to understand them.
We are shortly approaching the end of our conversation. To round it all up, how do you think, how will the future of the Hungarian banking look in 5-10 years? How will a bank here look like in 10 years? How will you operate?
Good question.
Dániel, any thoughts?
Yeah, mostly it's again a complex question, because we cannot say that where will be the technology in the next 2 years. Will there be any AGI solution or not? So to predict the banks and the world of banks for the next 5, 10, or 15 years, it's pretty complex. Mostly, I organization is only as digital as the people working there. So we are focusing to educate all our employees for the digital world. So this is the most important part, to focus on the people, because always the transformation depends on the people who work in the company. So we are focusing for the education. We are focusing to implement and deploy all the new technologies to understand the capabilities and the frameworks of these. Because if you are an early adopter of this technology, in this case, you can be part of the race of the market. So my answer, which is not an answer, is to follow all the technology trends, educate the people, and try all the technologies and have hands-on experience on them. And in this case, maybe there will be 5 or 10 years later world, which will be something. In this case, you will be part of it, and you will handle all the customers and the technology and needs as well. Yeah.
Adam, what do you think?
Well, I cannot answer how will banking look in 5-10 years, but what I know for sure is that AI being a huge change in the digital world, especially if you think about like, so we went from a comment-based interaction into an intent-based interaction. We can have a conversation with our digital tools and apps, and that could be a new way of achieving things. And these AI solutions, or maybe let's go even further, AI agents will be widespread in 2, 3, 5 years. And us as a product strategy firm will be there to follow these trends and to help our clients and update their application environments, so we can, stay close to the front of the race. That's for sure. How will it look? I'm not sure. About the technology, we have some ideas, and you can see that quickly evolving day by day. Yeah.
Okay, and Istvan, what do you think? Because my thoughts are way more dramatic. I have way more dramatic, maybe the imagination. What do you think? What it's going to be in 10 years? Where you're going to stand? Istvan, did you hear me? Hello. Yep. Now the signal is.
Yes, Malia.
Yeah, until Istvan is back. Yeah.
With your imagination. So I would think that the Yes, I heard you. Maybe I have some connection problems, but I heard you. Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
I can.
It looks like the picture isn't going together with the sound.
Can you hear me? Okay, so really. Okay. I think that the return on equity required by the owners is going to be around 10 to 12% or above. The cost-income ratio is going to be somewhere below 45%. And I think banks are going to be required to have important cost-cutting measures, including decreasing the number of branches, decreasing the number of people. Very important efficiency programs, both on OPEX and PEREX, and most probably also on marketing expenditures. Although important CapEx investments are required. And I think that what is going to be very important, maybe what Bill Gates told around 30 or 40 years ago, that banks are not important, but banking is important. So most probably banks as they exist nowadays may not exist 10 or 20 years from now, but banking in a different way, but is going to be required. And the way how banking is going to be done is most probably is going to be very different. I'm not sure about the 10 years, but most probably yes. And with the new technologies and with the new requirements, it's going to be completely different. And especially with those that we haven't mentioned yet, but we are all familiar with the crypto, with the blockchain, with the new technologies in payment, whether it's card companies or whether it's going to be some sort of crypto, and but a lot of other topics may arise.
Okay, thank you very much. Then, as a closing remark, we can probably all agree that the consumer expectations are evolving faster than ever before, and we all have to catch up. And I will be giving the name back to Alexandra because we have reached the end of our time.
Thank you very much, all of you, for the discussion. Baiba, Istvan, Dániel, Adam, thank you for joining in and sharing your thoughts on the topic. I think we have now in front of us a generation that, just as it was before, that we had generations that were seeing the sign of a telephone, but not really knowing what a telephone looks like. Now we will most probably have a generation that will see the icon of a card, but maybe has never actually touched a physical one. What I have noted here as keywords for the years to come and for the people to come are basically speed, simplicity, gamification, multitasking. And just as one of the panelists mentioned, there was electricity, there was internet, and now there's AI. The discussion is always going to revolve somewhere around the AI, and we're going to see exactly in which way it will be used and where that will lead to. Thank you very much all for joining in, and looking forward to seeing you in June at UNCHAIN. Goodbye.